Today I'm going to be playing this Patreon deck from Flumpledumpf. So this is an OTK Shaman based around Bolner. You use Y'Shaarj to get Circus Medic, which triggers Y'Shaarj's battle cry, which gives you more Circus Medics, and you kill the opponent with Circus Medics and Dunk Tanks. But that is a pretty late game win condition. So we've got more of an early game win condition going on as well, which is totem stuff. So we've got Totem Goliath, which actually functions as a corruptor for Dunk Tank and Circus Medic, which is it's surprisingly hard to find a consistent corruptor for these. And then we also have like Totemic Reflection, which is just a solid early to mid game card. We've got Manatide Totem, which we want to be using in the combo deck anyway. And Grand Totem Eyesore is also just a solid card. So late game we OTK, early game we kill with totems. Should be fun. Love to see Totemic Reflection. I feel like the Gavel is not that good with Reflection, because I want to be toteming, right? What is Warlock even? Should I just be counting on comboing in this matchup? I mean, the combo is more of a secondary strategy in this deck, right? This looks like a turn 2 Totem Goliath, turn 4 Totemic Reflect. I should be able to Totemic Reflect next turn, right? With the second bloom. Okay, my opponent has the one card that can deal with my strategy. But they do still leave 4 totems behind, so... Oh, it was more overloaded than I thought this turn. Right, the Totem Goliath itself has overload. Well, hopefully I don't get AoE'd here. School Spirits, Soul Rend. Scorpid into Grimoire of Sacrifice, I think it's called. Alright, my opponent didn't do anything. So, I think I do play the Totemic Reflection here. It's just a question of where. I mean, copying this gives like more buffs to my board, which is nice. But if I copy a 1-power minion, I can kill the Scorpid. I guess I could copy this and then just trade all my 1-power stuff into the Scorpid. Seems kind of bad, though. I feel like I'm just supposed to do this, which kind of sucks. But it was sort of like I played a 3/4 that dealt 3 damage. All I did this turn was play Circus Medic. That wasn't even that good. I have a really, really good hand, though. This draws Y'Shaarj, and then I have Bolner Lightning Bloom Y'Shaarj with a Circus Medic. If you don't have the Dunk Tank, then Circus Medic on its own only does 20 damage, I believe, because you run out of board space. You do need to play Bolner and then Y'Shaarj and then 5 Circus Medics. But 20 damage is a lot, especially against Warlock. So, might not even need to find a Dunk Tank. I think that was slightly unlucky. Not too bad, though. Alright, opponent, you can have some armor. Just kidding, no armor for you. It's a lot of healing. Probably will need to find the full OTK, but this helps a lot potentially, or not. Oh, I do have a totem. I was confused for a moment. Is this good enough? I try to save it for a Totem Goliath or a Circus Amalgam. It'd be pretty good on Mana Tide at this point. I think I can get more out of this Totemic Reflection. I'm just at a particular point in the game where it doesn't really do anything. Forgot that card existed. Oh, beautiful. Not sure if I should be making a totem here because I do care a little bit about board space eventually for my combo. But I think it's fine. And I did draw a dunk tank, so I need to draw something to corrupt it. I do only have 2 corruptors left in the deck, so it's not super likely I'll find one soon. That was 2 separate soul shears, so looks like both of my totems are dying here. Oh, they had a 3rd soul shear off Venomous Scorpid. Okay. Beautiful. Cornelius just wins the game, right? Might have a hand size issue, but it's probably fine. Oh, I do still have to actually play the dunk tank, that's right. I don't really know what this Warlock list is, but it certainly doesn't seem like something that can kill me soon. Could have Mutanus, I guess. I do just lose to Mutanus 50% of the time. Well, that's terrifying. Kind of tempted to go Note Taker double dunk tank. But I was talking about Mutanus. I kind of just don't want to play Note Taker. Leave my opponent with 7 power in play. It's probably fine, right? Can't play this because it overloads, don't want to play these because of Mutanus, don't want a hero power because of board space, don't want to play any of these 3 because they're combo pieces. So, looks like I'm floating 6 mana.
Fresh out of the oven.
Alright, looks like... Oh, what's this card? Silly opponent. They think being at 30 and having board control matters in this game. Okay, they know what was happening. Alright, So I must admit that I am struggling a bit with this deck, and I think I do know the reason for that. So we have two different packages going on, right? We've got the Bolner stuff and the Totem stuff. So the Bolner Y'Shaarj stuff is basically targeting late game decks because we end up with an infinite damage OTK. So we get the Y'Shaarj combo and we should just win the game. But then we have the Totem stuff, which actually is also targeting those same decks, because what Totem Shaman is good at is just like getting on the board early and snowballing and killing the opponent. What it's not good at is beating the decks that Y'Shaarj loses to. So say, for instance, you're up against an aggro druid, you hero power on 2, and you just give up board control for the rest of the game, right? Because they're going to have something that can kill your totem, you're not going to be able to land Totemic Reflection, and all of your totem stuff just kind of falls apart. And if you're up against, say, like a lifesteal quest Demon Hunter, where the Y'Shaarj thing would be too slow, it turns out they just kind of have the removal to kill all your totem stuff too. So it seems like this deck has two different strategies that are like trying to cover separate bases, but I feel like you're just doubling up on covering the same matchups. So perhaps the deck idea itself is the problem more so than the way the deck is constructed. But I do think there are some improvements we can make to the deck list without destroying the theme. So the first change I want to make to this deck is I want to get rid of these Perpetual Flames. I feel like now that this card costs 2 mana, there's really just not that much point in playing it over Lightning Storm. You'd rather just have the more consistent AoE. Lightning Storm is usually going to overload for less. Also, Perpetual Flame is a fire spell, which interferes with the Primal Dungeoneer, so I think I just prefer Storm to Flame. And speaking of Primal Dungeoneer, I believe our only elementals currently are going to be these amalgams. But I think we can do better in the elemental department, and I think Circus Amalgam is probably our worst totem card. We still have the Totemic, the Totem Goliath for copying a big thing. We've got these smaller things to copy. I feel like Circus Amalgam is just kind of a weird middle ground. So in place of the Amalgam, I think I would rather just play Cage Match Custodian. We already play the Gavels. Cage Match Custodian is just such an insane card. And it's a really nice card draw chain. Dungeoneer into Custodian into Gavel. Let's see, what else is there? I think to help out the totem stuff, we also want to be playing Tour Guide. 0 mana hero power is just a pretty good setup for Totemic Reflection. And Tour Guide is actually reasonably strong at comboing with Bolner, if you just need to like gain a bunch of armor with Armor Vendor or something like that. So I think I'm going to cut these Diligent Note Takers. We do play a decent handful of spells, but it's just kind of hard to imagine a scenario where we're really getting a bunch of value out of the Note Taker. And I'm pretty happy with these changes. I think you could maybe look at cutting Armor Vendor, but I think it's probably a pretty good card. I think you could maybe look at trying to include Canal Slogger, but for now I think the Armor Vendor just kind of does its job. Maybe not better, but certainly cheaper. Probably the only change I would consider at this point is maybe cutting Cornelius Rome for Devolving Missiles. It is nice that Cornelius corrupts things, but we have 3 corruptors, maybe that's enough. Cornelius is maybe a bit clunky. We play a lot of card draw in this deck already. And I've definitely seen a good number of matchups where the Devolving Missiles would be powerful. Could maybe even cut Instructor Fireheart for another copy of Devolving Missiles, because I played this card like 3 times, and every time I just was praying to hit Devolving Missiles. But that's a change I'm not nearly as convinced of.
Light, guide my hand.
You stand before King Rastakhan.
Love to see Cage Match Custodian. Now that's a lot of card draw. That's probably too much card draw.
May the light grant you peace.
Hand of a Doll's not super good here. They could have the secret weapon. That'd be pretty good.
What to do?
Also not great. Looks like I get to play Mana Tide into an empty board, which you do always love to see.
I have things you never knew you wanted.
Well, Canal Slogger seems like a good way to get more cards out of my Mana Tide totem. And I don't think this is really a matchup where I care too much about the lifesteal. It does overload my Totem Goliath, but I don't think that's that big of a deal.
I do love a good study session.
Hopefully I discount the Circus Medic here. Very nice.
I cannot wait to read these.
Reporting for duty.
I guess I'll Hero Power, why not? Okay, there's my Y'Shaarj. So I just need Bolner.
Really? It's not too heavy.
3 mana, draw 1 card? Pathetic, says my Mana Tide totem.
Reporting for duty.
Totemic Reflection is cool. I could cast it on my Mana Tide totem, but I'm kind of concerned about overdrawing at this point. I'll go down to, say I go Totemic Reflect Circus Medic, I go down to 7, up to 9, drop to 10. Have to be able to play 3 cards a turn. Next turn, I could do that pretty easily with Tour Guide, Gavel. But then it makes it kind of hard to play Talon. I guess I don't really have to ever play Talon though. Probably hard to keep up with 2 Mana Tide totems.
This'll make the pain go away.
And there's the Bolner. So all I need is mana and to cast Dunk Tank and play Talon. They could have maybe like traded this off first and then tried to board lock me. Not sure if that would have been worthwhile. I mean, these totems do board lock me from
The light grant you peace.
Y'Shaarj combos a bit. Because I do need at least 3 board slots for Y'Shaarj to go off.
This is not what we stood for.
I already have a Lightning Bloom, so I'm pretty sure I don't care about this mana discount at all. I guess the strength totems do make it more difficult to get board locked since they can buff up your other 0 power minions. Alright, we dunk. And we make sure to not overload. Actually, I guess I can overload, but I don't know, these totems might just get in the way. I feel like I just end my turn here, right? Maybe I do just want to get cards out of my hand, but I don't know, this doesn't really get cards out of my hand. Actually, I should have left this in hand for Mutanus, because Mutanus is like the one way I can lose this game. Alright, pretty sure I win.
Reporting for duty.
Dunk. Yay. Warrior. Well, if it's control warrior, I'm pretty sure it's a free win. Outside of Mutanus. So maybe I even just keep Lightning Storm, assuming it's like Rush Warrior? Pirate Warrior? Do I keep Lightning Storm in those matchups? Probably not. Didn't I mulligan both of these cards? Raid the docks, sure.
Grab your cutlass. Let's buckle swash.
Love to see Cage Match Custodian on 2. Eight cards in hand. If I play this, I go down to 7, up to 9, and then draw up to 10, so that's fine. Pretty good weapon, though. I think it still makes sense to Dungeoneer. I'm actually impressed at how bad my hand is here. On the bright side, though, I just need to draw Y'Shaarj and any 5-cost card. I could even just draw Talon and then have everything I need to win the game. I don't think I'm particularly scared of any of their weapons. Okay, that is a full clear. And unfortunately this thing doesn't die to either of my AoE cards. It's Talon.
This is not what we stood for.
Well, Talon's insane because it's just good on the board here, but it also corrupts my dunk tank. As well as, you know, working toward my win condition very effectively. So I guess at this point, I'm just trying to survive, and I probably want to hoard minions so I don't lose to Mutanus. If that's at all possible, which it might not be. I have a Gavel and a Lightning Bloom, so I could theoretically win on turn 8. So I guess it makes sense to do it like this. Missed the discount, so now I have to wait until turn 9 to win. I could have maybe gone Circus Medic instead of Dunk Tank there, but I was taking more damage than I was comfortable with. Well, looks like that's just gonna get medicated. Armor Vendor is quite good. What if I like Storm Flame? I overload for 3. Next turn I'll be on... Oh man, 8 minus 3. That's 5. I feel like I'm probably pretty safe just doing this. Like, the reason to maybe, like, Storm there is so I could have the Circus Medic to clear something next turn to lead into my, OTK turn. But I think I have enough health that I just don't need to go for that. Unfortunately, that does mean that I literally can't play a card next turn if I want to win on turn 9. I'm gonna have to draw into something relevant. But at 17, when my opponent has no board, I think it's very possible that do nothing is a winning play next turn. The old spend 7 mana, then draw a card. One of my favorite plays. Alright, so I just always win next turn, right? So it makes sense to hold the Cage Match Custodian to play around the Fat Murloc. I'm so good at the video game. Easy win. So I played a bit more with this deck, and I did make a couple more changes. I originally cut Perpetual Flame for Lightning Storm, but I think we need both, so I got one more copy of Flame in here. And then, similarly, I was doing a bit of a debate between Armor Vendor and Canal Slogger. But I ended up playing both. Only one Armor Vendor, double Canal Slogger. I think Slogger is just too good of a card to not play. So yeah, you'll notice that I added more anti-aggro cards, and that's because this deck really, really struggles against aggro. I talked about it a bit before, but like the late game OTK strategy is bad against aggro, but also totems are bad against aggro. So the two halves of our deck are both bad against aggro, which makes the deck bad against aggro. Unfortunately, between the Y'Shaarj package and the Totem package, we really have very few flexible deck slots. So I don't think I can really even tweak anything else in this deck to give it a better chance against aggro. I think the only way this deck is getting improved is if you commit to one line or the other, which probably involves cutting the totems. I did play a non-totem version of this deck in the past. I'm not sure how good it is in the current meta. I think it's been a couple balanced patches ago. But instead of Totem Goliath, I played Ogremancer and Lurker Below as Corruptors. I think that still makes sense. Played Far Watchpost as just a pretty good card in the deck, pretty solid 2-drop. That probably makes some sense. I don't really know why I wasn't playing any board clears, so I probably would keep the Storm and the Flame. But the Thalnos I was playing is probably pretty good with those as well. I guess I can throw together a non-totem version real quick. Even though that is probably not what everyone was hoping for. So yeah, if you want to OTK people, probably go with something like this. If you want to OTK people with totems still being in the deck, then I think the previous list I showed is probably the way to go.